11, Semester 2, Unit 5, the Mentor Research Essay. And even if you're not in that exact class right now, we're really going to be focusing in on the skill of adding in-text citations, which, if you've noticed, most of the writing assignments, almost every rubric asks you to add in-text citations. So those are helpful. Okay. Just a couple more minutes here. I apologize advance and as well if we get interrupted at all. I've got a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old here at home who are wondering why they can't come in the office. And my husband's doing a good job keeping them corralled, but if they come pounding on the door, that's them trying to get in to see what I'm doing. No. Hi there. Hi, Shirley. Welcome to the English presentation for tonight. I'm Jessica and will be the teacher for the evening. I apologize, my audio and camera are not quite working, but I was able to call in, which is great. And we'll get started here in just a second. Again, as you're coming in, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you all have made the time to be here tonight. We're going to get started right at 6:30 my time. I should say 6:30 my time. I am on the West Coast in Washington State. I realize a lot of you are back east, so especially since it's later in the evening, thank you for being here. We are going to focus tonight really on in-text citations in your research. That comes from specifically Unit 5 in Semester 2 for English 11. But even if you're not enrolled in that class specifically, I'm hoping this will be helpful, as in-text citations are an expectation with, especially here at Graduation Alliance, all of our writing assignments of a formal nature, but also just wherever you go, if you choose to continue into college or post-high school, post-diploma training, that will be helpful. One quick second, this is going to bug me. There we go. Hit that circle there, right? Okay, it is promptly 1/2 and I don't want to run in on any of your time. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first part of this will be specific to adding in-text citations. The second part will look briefly at a little mini grammar lesson on semicolons. And at any time, if you want to hop on your microphone and ask a question, or if you have questions about other assignments that I can help with, that's what I'm here for, is to answer any questions that you may have. So as I mentioned, tonight we're going to be focusing on creating in-text citations, which particularly when we are looking at MLA works cited, MLA format, that is an expectation that you cite the research that you're using or the concrete details that you're using in writing your paper. Okay. The focus questions that I want us to cover this evening are: where do you get the information for an in-text citation? How do you know what to put in there? And then the actual formatting. Where do you put an in-text citation within your paper that you're writing? So this is a focus on Unit 5 in English 11 Semester 2, which is researching a mentor. So someone that I admire for a couple different reasons, and you're welcome to disagree, of course, is LeBron James. Maybe not so much for his talent and athleticism as a basketball player, but I'm sure some of you guys heard right at the end of the summer, start of the school year, he made some waves by opening up a public high school, or helping to open a public high school in his hometown in Ohio, which as an educator, that's something I really respect. So as a side note, if you are in English 11 Semester 2, or if you will be, when you get to researching a mentor, I think it's a little bit easier in terms of research to pick a famous person that you look up to, because you can do a lot of research. You can, of course, choose someone that you know personally, and that's just your research then is in-person interviews that can be cited as well. So now, the curriculum team that designed our courses here at Graduation Alliance have tried really hard to sequence the lessons so they build on top of one another. So you are writing a lot in all of your classes, but if you go in order and follow the process, they build up pretty well. So lesson 5.5 is specific to in-text citations, but they build off of lesson 5.2, which is your research outline. And you can see here the requirements for this essay, when you're looking at your mentor. You're looking at the professional or academic accomplishments, what the mentor has done to serve others, and then any advice or wisdom given by that mentor. So those are the things that you would already have gathered, and you would have, under those topics, listed specific details about your mentor, and then written down the source, so the website, the personal interview, however it is, whatever source you got that information from. You also would have done lesson 5.3, which is a draft outline. Now, in this particular unit, you are writing a full 5-paragraph essay with an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. But for tonight, to show you this sample, I've chosen to focus in on body paragraphs, particularly body paragraph number 3, which is what, body paragraph number 2. That's a mistake there. But your second body paragraph, third paragraph overall in the essay would be, what has the mentor done to serve others? We follow what's called the Schaefer model of writing with Graduation Alliance, where we always start our paragraph with a topic sentence. We introduce a concrete detail or a fact, which you're pulling from your research outline back in lesson 5.2. You're then giving commentary or your opinion based on that fact, preferably, 2 to 3 sentences there. A second concrete detail, again relating back to the topic sentence, more commentary explaining that, and then your concluding sentence. Okay? So what I want you to understand and really get is that anytime you're writing and you see a concrete detail listed in an outline or a draft or any of those things, most of the time that concrete detail is going to need an in-text citation, because a concrete detail usually is a fact that you have drawn from another resource and that you are using to support your opinion. So good rule of thumb, if you see a concrete detail in an outline, you're going to need an in-text citation. What that means, if you look back over here at our outline, you have 2 concrete details in every body paragraph. So that means you're going to need at least 2 in-text citations in every paragraph as well. Again, if you have any questions at any time, feel free to jump on, ask them, send them in a chat message. This is really here for, our hope is to be able to help you guys as much as needed. Okay, lesson 5.4. Remember I said everything builds up on this. You would have also already created a works cited page with the research that you had done for your draft outline. In my case, I found 2 articles. I found one called LeBron James Opens I Promise School that was published in Forbes magazine, written by Jerry Barca. That's another thing with works cited. It's always last name and then first name, just because, I guess. And the second article is from USA Today. LeBron James opens new public school in Akron, one of the greatest moments of his life, written by journalist Jeff Zilgett. So those are the 2 sources that I'm working from when I put together my paragraph. So here is the paragraph that I have as an example for you. Okay? I've got LeBron James is a phenomenal basketball player on the court, which I know you can argue that, but he's also chosen to use his fame and money to help build the future of his hometown. So there's my topic sentence. I've underlined my concrete detail. Number 1, the LeBron James Family Foundation's I Promise School opened in Akron on July 30th, 2018. James is from Akron, Ohio, and chose to open the school there to help the community that he came from. This school, however, goes above and beyond holding classes. According to a USA Today report, students will be fed breakfast, lunch, and a snack daily, so no one has to try and focus while they're hungry. Students will also receive free transportation and if they live more than a mile away, and also free bikes, so getting to school won't be such a challenge. Parents will also get help with job placement if they need it. By providing these kinds of assistance, the I Promise School is making it easier for students and families to not only attend, but succeed in school. Because education is the key to success, this will impact the community for years to come. This is a huge service from LeBron James and his partners in opening the I Promise School. So what I want to focus in on are my 2 in-text citations. I've underlined those. So we've got right here in my second sentence, I've pulled this statement from the Jerry Barca article. And this is actually a direct quote. So it begins with the quote there, it ends the quote there, and what that's telling my reader is that everything in between was directly written. I copied and pasted it from this article written by Jerry Barca. Now, in your actual paper, your works cited would be at the end of your paper, but what this would allow a reader to do is if they wanted to say, oh, where did this fact come from? Where did she get this? They would see here in the parentheses that it says Barca, flip to my works cited page, and then see, oh, there's Barca. That means that quote came from this source. So it's a way of proving your relevance or your trustworthiness as an author and as a researcher, that you've done your research. You know what stuff is there. Okay? Now down here, this is a little bit different. This is all cited material as well. But what I've done here is I've put according to a USA Today report. So I've cited the USA Today in advance, right there, also as USA Today, but none of that is directly quoted. I'm summarizing it. That's an important thing to remember, though, is even when you paraphrase or summarize information you've learned from another source, you've got to cite it. If it's not an original thought, you have to give credit to it. So I found out from that USA Today report about the meals offered, about the free transportation and bikes. And so I said, according to that USA Today report, that was there. I also have a second sentence here that parents will get help with job placement if they need it. Again, that's not a direct quote, but it's information I got from someone else, and it happened to be Jeff Zilgett. So in this sentence, because I mentioned USA Today at the beginning, I didn't have to cite Zilgett at the end. In this sentence that says parents will also get help with job placement if they need it, there's nowhere in there that I've acknowledged that this came from someone else, so I have to put it in the parentheses at the end of the sentence. Your goal with any in-text citation is to make sure that your reader can, if they want to, flip to the back to your works cited page and see exactly where you got your information from. Again, this helps actually make you a more trustworthy author, because what you're proving is you have evidence to back up your opinion. And that's called your ethos, or your credibility as an author, that people can trust what you're saying. Okay? So again, we've already done our research. We've already created a works cited page. We've outlined our essay, and we know that anytime there's a concrete detail required, that means we're pulling information from our research. And if you embed your research either as a direct quote, like you see here where I copied and pasted this information, so I have the quote at the beginning and the end, I added on the date, and then I've included the source in parentheses at the end, and then the period. Or I can do it like this, where I mention USA Today ahead of time. All of this is summarized, so no need for the direct quotations, but I still make it clear that that information came from somewhere else. All right. Oops. In-text citation rules that I want to point out real quick. Put quotes again around any material that you directly quote from your research, like I did with the first concrete detail here. Parenthetical citations. So if you've got to stick the author's name, and if you don't have the author's name, you go with like the title of the author, or the title of the article, I'm sorry. If you don't have the author's name, you can use the title of the article or the source it came from, like USA Today. What you should not be doing, though, is citing like an entire website address directly in the paper. You use the first available information in your works cited page. But those parenthetical citations, if need be, come at the end of the sentence, so after all of the other information, but before the closing punctuation, before your period or your question mark or however you're ending that. That's where the parenthetical citations get put. And then you use the first identifying information from the works cited entry for the in-text citation. So in this case, I had an author's name for each, but again, you can use the title of the article, you can use the source that published it. You just don't want to put an entire web address in your in-text citation. You would find other information first from your citation. Okay, that's a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions that, again, you can jump on, you can type in a question, anything at this point? No? Hold on. Okay, perfect. I see that you guys said nope, you're okay. So I do want to, like I said, we're just going to keep moving. We as teachers have been asked to also give you a mini grammar lesson at the end of each, at the end of each assignment specific part. So really quickly, I just want to talk to you about semicolons. Semicolons are, this is a pun, and I am an English teacher and I like nerdy puns. And you've got your semicolon here, and the colon is asking the semicolon, why are you crying? The semicolon is saying, because nobody understands me. And honestly, that's true in that semicolons are probably the most improperly used punctuation marks that we have, but they really help elevate your writing if you know how to use them well. So a few quick rules. Why is this not moving? There we go. A few quick rules to help you. Now, these are not mine. If any of you like web comics, the oatmeal is always pretty funny. And so they have a series of web comics on grammar, one of them being, when should I use a semicolon? Here's the idea. You could put a comma in a sentence. You could put a period to break up two sentences. You use a semicolon, which is like the period stacked on top of the comma, when you have two ideas that are so closely linked that you want them to stay together in one sentence, but they're technically two complete sentences, okay? So we've got pictures here to help you understand them. They're silly, but that's part of what makes them funny. I gnaw on old car tires. It strengthens my jaw so I'll be better conditioned for bear combat. I imagine if any of you are Office fans, I imagine Dwight Schrute saying something like this. But the semicolon comes right here. And this is a good check for if you could use a semicolon. If you can read what comes before the semicolon and it's a complete sentence, and you can read what comes after the semicolon and it's a complete sentence, you could put a semicolon there. And then the last check is just to make sure that they connect to each other. So I gnaw on old car tires, semicolon. It strengthens my jaw so I'll be better conditioned for bear combat. Those two sentences go together. Gnawing on tires is not a common hobby, but the second sentence helps explain what's the motivation for there. So two complete sentences, two complete ideas that we've joined together with that semicolon to show how closely related they are. Okay. Down here, we have a little different though. I fought the bear and won. Also, I never kissed plague rats on the mouth. Okay. In this sentence, we have victory against the bear. We fought the bear and won. But then we also talk about never kissing rats who have the plague on the mouth. I would argue just don't kiss rats at all. But the point being here is that these two sentences, their topic, not related. Not kissing plague rats and fighting the bear and won aren't connected directly. So we use a period instead. We don't use the semicolon. Okay. Another time, also thank you to the oatmeal, that we use a semicolon is when we're making a big list. And so like they said here is the semicolon can be a super comma. When you've got a list, usually you use commas, but if you already have a bunch of other commas in your list, then you need the semicolon to help break those ideas up, okay? Apparently, the most enchanting meat on earth comes from the thighs of a unicorn. This is obviously a joke site, but the sentence here, while searching for a good place to get a unicorn burger, I traveled to Seattle, Washington, Tokyo, Japan, and London, England. Because we're already putting commas between the city and state or the city and country, we use the semicolons to help break that up so we can see, oh, this is one location, semicolon. Here's a second location, semicolon, and then a third location. If we just said Seattle, Tokyo, and London, we wouldn't need a semicolon. We would know that those are three cities. But when we're being specific with city and state or city and country, we're already sticking a comma in there. We put the colon in there to help, the semicolon in there to help break up the items and make the list itself clear. Like I said here, this often occurs when we're listing locations, names, dates, and descriptions. You've got a big, cumbersome list. We want to make each item clear, so we use the semicolon instead. Like I said at the beginning, semicolons can be confusing but if you're able to use them correctly, especially when joining connected ideas in independent clauses or complete sentences, it really helps elevate your writing to just a higher level in terms of academic use and the descriptions that you're able to give. So, all right. That, my friends, is the end of our, that's the end of our presentation that I have for you. Does anybody have a question, even not related to semicolons or in-text citations, that I can help you with while we're on the chat? No? Well, I just want to thank you all again for taking your time to be here tonight to get a little extra information, learn a little bit more about the program and expectations. You guys, I'm sorry, you as students, you all are incredibly impressive to me. I know that very often you're juggling work, you're juggling families, you're juggling so many responsibilities. And so taking the time to invest in your education is just such a fantastic move, and hopefully something that you will never regret, and instead will open a lot of doors for you. So with that, if no one has any questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the session. We have other ones getting started later in the evening, but feel free. My name again is Jessica. My email address is jessica.klingback, KLINGBACK, @graduationalliance.com. So you can feel free to shoot me an email anytime, and that goes with any of your teachers. If you're ever feeling stuck or overwhelmed, make sure that you're reaching out and letting us who are here to help you know that you need that, so we can make sure that we're giving you the support you need to get through the program. All right, have a wonderful evening.